You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Perfectionists and control freaks, maybe you have a plan for your plan that has a backup plan to the backup plan. But with us today is a transformational shaman, Kelle Sparta with Kelle Sparta Enterprises. She works with motivated individuals who have mastered their career or business life path already and are turning their attention to their personal and inner life. Kelle, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
Great. Thanks for asking, Chris. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, same here. Thanks for being on. We always like to ask our entrepreneurs, what were you doing before you got into business, and how has that led you into what you're doing today?
Oh, what was I doing before I got into business? That was a long time ago, Chris. I think the last time I was actually employed for any length of time was when I was in college working at a payroll company. That was the last time I was working for somebody else for any length of time. I mean, there were short stints in between, but not much.
Nice. Hey, well, that's
Been
a
an
great
entrepreneur
journey.
for 35 years. Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen
Yeah.
quite a lot in that time.
Oh my God, so much. Because I've done a lot of consulting too. So there's doing your own business and then there's working on other people's businesses. And I've been involved in a bunch of different startups and I've done classes at different universities in Boston and, things like that. So I've been part of a lot of people's businesses.
I love that. You talk the talk and you walk the walk. While working on your own business, you're helping improve other people's business, which can be overwhelming, but you seem to have the game plan. You have the strategy, you know what works, you know what you need to tell people. How does it usually work with you bringing on a new client or even seeing if they're the right fit? Is there this discovery phase? You see what's going on, and then how do you kind of work through those steps?
Yeah, there's absolutely a discovery phase because the people that I'm looking to work with are those perfectionists and control freaks that you were talking about at the beginning. They're sort of the knight in shining armor sort of archetype, right? And they're empaths and they've got big hearts and they want to save the world, but somehow they can't quite save themselves. The whole thing about self-care is like most of them are doing it backwards. Like, I'm going to work myself to death and then I'm going to fall down and then I'm going to buy myself a massage so I can stick a sucker in the mouth of my inner child and ask it to shut up, stop crying, right? So it's self-abuse cycle followed by this self-bribery cycle continues. So yeah, those are my peeps and I love them because that with me, we always coach the people who were ourselves. And so we have a lot of compassion for it. And you're just like, yeah, I've been there. It's okay. And my people are often really headstrong too. They like to tell their spirit guides where to go and how far to go. And they'd like to tell me that sometimes too. And I'm like, that's okay. You can do what you want. But I will say, I told you so when you find out I was right. It's okay. It's not my job to run your business or run your life. I'm just here to give you advice. And that's how it is. So when I work with people, they come in and we have a conversation. That's the initial thing. Oftentimes they'll come in first for a what I call a business energy review. And I do a reading on their business. And depending upon how big the business is, it may be personal reading expanded because if you're a solopreneur or a small business owner, your energetics of your business are very much the same as your own energetics because one is born from the other until you have enough people in positions of power and making decisions and things like that. It becomes a collective energetic. And once that happens, then I do readings on the collective energetic and the different departments. So it depends on where somebody is in their business as to what I'm reading and how that reading plays into what's going on for them. But they often will start with that. And then from there, we start talking about where do they want to go and what do they want to accomplish. And a lot of my people want to really tap into their intuition and access higher levels of their own human potential. They want to find their purpose because they've found their success, but now where's their purpose? So it depends on the person. It's very different depending upon who it is that we're talking to.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you tailored that strategy in that session towards the individual where they're at in their journey, because it is very different from when you're a solopreneur into having a small or medium, large size team. The energy is different. How you act and what you do, your responsibilities are all a bit different. So it's important that you tailor that solution so that way you can best figure out how to help them in their personal growth. Now, how can we energize our business? How can we use these energetics to actually improve our business?
Well, that's a really big question, Chris. There's a lot of answers to that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is your inner world as a business owner, and your limiting beliefs are the limiting factors on your business. So if you don't believe that you can be successful, or if you don't believe that you can make multi-million dollars a year, multi-million dollars a month, if you don't believe that you can do that, then you're not going to be able to take the business there, no matter how hard you try. And there are identity factors involved in that as well. For instance, you have a belief that rich people are evil. You're never going to be able to be a rich person because you don't want to be evil. So these are belief structures that really pull things into play, but there are much more subtle ones too. If you've come up through an environment where you became codependent because you had, parents who were less than supportive, or you had an abusive environment, or you had bullying or whatever, if you ended up in a position where you are personally codependent, that can play into your business as well. That can have problems with employees and not having great boundaries with employees. It could have problems with not pricing properly because you're saying, oh, but they can't. And, now you're not doing that well, trying to give away stuff, and you're running a charity instead of a business. I mean, all of these things I see with clients all the time. And then there's the codependency with the universe. If you're asking the universe to be your parent instead of your partner, and you're asking for the universe to put the little stamp of approval on your forehead before you go somewhere, then you're going to end up in a panic pivot cycle in your business because you're not going to give anything long enough to actually make it work. So there's a lot of different pieces and parts, and this is just a very small fraction of the stuff that goes into it. And then when we look at it, not from an identity perspective and belief perspective, but we look at it from an energetics perspective. So this is the funny one. I'll share an example with you. My friend and I had started a business years ago, and we were ready to bring it to the world. And so we brought it energetically into the astral, and we took our baby business and we presented it to the gods of technology and asked for their blessing. And the gods of technology grabbed our baby and turned it into a cyborg, right? They just borged the baby. We freaked out. But what happened with that business was that we would get times where people would look at us and say, I did not come to your website. I typed in a completely different website and your website popped up. Or I closed my browser and it opened up again with your website on it. So I thought I must have to come through. That sort of stuff happened. So repeatedly. I can't tell you how many times we had people say that to us. Okay. You can use it in your physical business. I had a retail store, and we put up a protection on the retail store. And it was so funny because there was this woman who came in while we were still renovating, but after we had put the protections up. And she walked through and she was like, what are you going to do here? And I told her what we were doing. She was like, oh, I'll never come in here. Just walk through the whole store saying that over and over and over again. I'll never come in here. And that was so weird. I was not going to disabuse her of that notion. I was like, yeah, you can never come in here. That's okay. And I just let her go, and she walked out and she never came back. And she was walking by on the street several months later after we had opened. And my insurance agent, who knows everybody in town, was in the store at the time. And I said, who is she? He said, oh, don't let her in your store. She's the local kleptomaniac. She'll steal everything. I said, well, she'll never come in here. She never did. And in addition, we had that store open. That particular store, before I sold it, was open for a year and a half. And we did inventory just before I sold it. And in a year and a half, we had $12 in loss. And I'm fairly certain that we gave that away because we would occasionally give away a stone here or a crystal there or whatever. And we had teenagers coming through that store like mad, right? So there should be huge amounts of loss. $12 in a year and a half. So energetics can support protecting your retail store. I had a guy who had a printing company that I worked with, and he had an issue with his staff. There was crankiness and not goodness happening between the staff members. And we did some work on his business. We set up protections, we set up intention, we moved things around and got things oriented and energetically, not physically. I wasn't doing feng shui. I was just doing the energetics. And everything smoothed out. All of the interpersonal stuff worked its way out. And what happened was his brother quit the business because his brother was the problem. But once we've rearranged the energetics, his brother quit so that he didn't have the problem with his parents, the family business of having to get rid of the brother. So it just, all sorts of ways that we can massage the process.
I love that. It really comes down to the mindset and the energy that you're putting into the universe and making it come to fruition, not hoping that it's going to grab your hand and pull you into it. But like you said, it's the partnership that you're going to hold hands together side by side, move through as you change your mindset towards a more positive one. And I think a lot of people, equate that to your personal growth. A famous phrase was, your attitude shapes your perception and your perception shapes your reality. If you're looking for doors, if you think these doors are always closed, they're never going to open for you. If you're always seeing things in a bad energy, in a bad way, you're only going to see those things. That's what you're focusing on. But when it comes to our personal growth, is it similar to the stages of grief where there's a well-defined steps within it? What are those stages of personal growth that, kind of someone from the beginning until they're all fixed? What does that look like?
All fixed, huh?
I've never, it's always a work in progress, right?
So there are a lot of stages. I am in the process of codifying all the stages, actually. I have personally discovered 12 or 13. So I've been writing about this stuff, just for the record, I've been doing this since I was 5 years old. I've been in this world for almost 50 years at this point. And the stages are things that I have seen happen over and over and over again throughout that time. So the first stage is the discovery stage. It's there's got to be more to life than this stage. And that usually brings people into the spiritual world because they try therapy, they try wellness, but then they're like, I want the magic pill. If you come in, you're looking for the magic pill. And so the next stage is what I call proof and proselytizing. You go to a few classes, you try some things out, and you go, holy crap, this stuff actually works. I must tell everyone I know and drag them out to classes with me so that they don't think I'm nuts, right? That's stage 2. Stage 3 is proof and spiritual addiction. It's the combination of the two, and spiritual addiction / orientation. So orientation slides into addiction very quickly. So you're proving to yourself that not only can other people do it, but you can do it. And that is, you're trying out, maybe you're reading tarot cards, or maybe you're talking to your guides, or maybe you're doing some divination of some kind. And you're like, whoa, can I do it? Can I do it? Law of attraction, right? The biggest thing I ever see people do in this stage is that they do something, they manifest it, and then they stop manifest ever again. They stop trying. And it happens a lot because people realize that it works and they go, oh my God, that means I'm powerful. And what does that mean? I don't know. I'm just not going to do this anymore. Close the book and walk away.
They get totally freaked out about that. Like, oh no.
Yeah. So the key piece in this stage is that they go into this orientation process, and especially my people. My people are big readers. They'll have like 6 books on their bedside, another 4 books in their living room, all partially read. They're reading 10, 12, 15 things at a time, and they're watching 40 different YouTube videos and following 8 different podcasts and binging them. And they're just in this absorb information phase. And that's the phase that can easily transition into spiritual addiction, which is you start pursuing the information for the sake of pursuing the information. It makes you feel like you're doing something, but you're not actually doing something. And it's very easy to get stuck in that phase because there's so much information out there. I mean, I've been doing this stuff for 50 years, and every couple of months, somebody comes to me and says, hey, what about this? And I go, never heard of it. I have no idea what that is. I know a lot of stuff, but that isn't one of them. What is that? And then they'll tell me, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I get it, but it's fine. But it's just new stuff coming out all the time because people are channeling stuff or whatever. That's why it's so easy to get stuck in it, because you forget. People go down this rabbit hole of the bright and shiny. Ooh, angels. Ooh, tarot cards. Ooh, crystals. Ooh, whatever. And they forget that they came in because they were unhappy. And so getting from stage 3 to stage 4, and most of my people are in that stage 3 to stage 4 stage, right? You have to give up the magic pill in order to get from stage 3 to stage 4. You have to admit that there is no magic pill outside of you. You are the magic pill. The answer is inside of you. And you have to do the work inside of you. When you finally admit that to yourself and stop going outside for your power, for your purpose, for your everything, and go inside, that's when you hit stage 4, which is retreat for self-work. And then once you get to a certain stage in stage 4, you will end up going to stage 5, which is the leap of faith, surrender process. And for me, that was the moment where I had to give away everything I own. And I left not knowing where I was going next. And I was on the road for a year on walkabout. I did it in my car because walkabout is an Aboriginal term from Australia where they go into the outback, which is their home. So I was in the US and we live in our cars. So I was in my car and I went 14,000 miles over the course of a year and stayed with a bunch of people I didn't know before I left, living on $350 a month and the kindness of strangers. So that was a big leap of faith, right? Not everybody has to go on walkabout, but there is some leap of faith that you will be asked to do. And the biggest question you will find yourself asking the universe during that stage is, you want me to do what? Free time. And there are a bunch of stages after that, but most people, this is as far as they need to know. But if you're curious, I've laid them all out in my book. So, it's out there, The Overachiever's Guide to Spiritual Awakening. But I think the book has 11 stages. I've found a couple more since I finished it, but it's enough. On stage 6, you start a cycle that begins through 11. You go through this cycle, and each time you start back at the beginning again, you cycle through. It's a spiral that you start working to get deeper and deeper into your shadow work. You're digging out the things that you don't like about yourself and, doing all of that piece. So, yeah, it's a process.
I love it, but it's so intriguing and fascinating to have a moment to step back and look at what those stages look like, because now, as we self-reflect, we realize, oh, I've definitely gone through these stages and I usually get stuck at this point, and this is usually the outcome and what happens from there, and then it cycles through again. I can't tell you the number of times for myself or entrepreneurs I know, we get stuck in that learning phase where we're constantly consuming information. I just need to watch one more video, read one more book, and then I'll feel confident about taking that next step. But in reality, there's a time for learning and there's a time for doing, and they have to start taking action on it. Otherwise, you get stuck in that black hole of YouTube and suddenly you're like watching videos that are slightly related yet not. And you're like, why did I come here in the first place? And they lose sight of that. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I will give you the single best piece of advice I ever got from anyone, and I've paid for easily $250,000 worth of business coaching over the course of my 35 years. Okay, easily $250,000. And the single best piece of advice I ever got was from Taki Moore, and he said, do one offering to one target market using one lead magnet on one platform for 1 year. That level of focus was the thing that broke me out of the cycle of feast and famine and got me into this place where I was finally getting past the 6-figure mark and working my way up beyond that. And that it's focus. It's focus because there's so much. I mean, I've been an online entrepreneur since 2004. So that's 20 years now. I built my first website on Yahoo Site Builder. Okay. I built it myself. And what I can say is that there is way too much to try and learn it all. I've been in it for 20 years. I still don't know it all. And I am a learner. The thing that I have been focusing on this year is reducing the amount of things I'm doing. I literally have just pulled back. And the only things that I am doing this year is podcasting because that's what's working. And I'm like, you know what? I've been trying to build this multi-legged stool for your business. So I was like, okay, podcasting works next. I was like, okay, book, I've got a quiz, got, all these other things that I put together. And I did webinars. And I was like, you know what? It always came back to podcast. The podcasting was where 90% of the business was coming from, no matter what else I did. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm going to do.
I love that because oftentimes we are pulled in so many different directions. We have this onslaught of information that we're trying to consume. And through all that, it muddies the waters and we lack that clarity and specifically the focus that you were talking about. When people actually hone in on what is my one specific offer, what is flying off the shelf right now, what is solving the biggest pain point for what industry, what channel are they on, that gives people the clarity and the focus that they need to say, okay, what efforts are working and what is not working right now. So you can focus your energy on getting better results. It's that 80-20 rule. 80% of your efforts will come, or results will come from 20% of your efforts. And for you, it's the podcasting. It's with this specific demographic, psychographic that you've chosen. And this is where people tend to fail. They try to do too much at once. So they need that clarity and focus, which is why business coaches, spiritual consultants, all help you find that direction, that clarity. And it suddenly becomes clear. You have these aha moments. You're like, man, this is what I needed to get energized again and get excited about my business. I have the focus and clarity that I need to take that next step.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Focus is the key. I mean, if you look at the law of attraction, what you focus on is what expands. So if you focus on it, it will expand into what you want it to be. And that's why I just launched a new podcast. I've been running one for 6 years, but I felt like I wanted to start a new one for this new phase of really focusing in. And so I started a new podcast called Spirit Guides, and I'm doing 5 days a week, which leaves no time to do anything else. I did that on purpose because I am a crazy person. I'm like, "Oh, I want to do that, 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 that." Like my assistant has been told, you have carte blanche to say no to me every time I come up with some ridiculous new idea because I am always ideating. I am the visionary for my business and I have these amazing ideas that will all take all of my time, right? It's ridiculous. And so I'm like, no, if I do 5 days a week of podcasting and I've got her getting me on podcasts like this one with you, and if I do that, I will be busy enough that I won't feel the need to pick up something else, right? It'll keep me focused. And, I just love this platform. I love this medium, right? Because I'm a talker. I love to chat. Why?
This is where true business connections happen, these one-on-one sessions where you can actually see the person's face, you're connecting with them, having like-minded conversations, and suddenly things just connect. And when you're able to demonstrate your trust, your authority, your expertise out into the world, people love video content. That's the highest consumed content right now. This is a perfect platform and medium to be able to do that and make those strong business connections to connect with our audience. It's so important. Where can people find out more about you online and get connected with you online because they're just so fascinated with these topics and wanting to get to the next level?
Yeah, well, the fastest way to reach me is kellesparta.com, spelled like you see it on the screen, Kelle. And pretty much any platform you go to out there, it's going to be at Kelle Sparta. So that's just where I am on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. You search for my name, you will find me. It is very simple.
And that's a part of some of that marketing strategy you put into, but your efforts are focused on podcasting, which is fantastic. And for those listening, we'll have the links available down in the description and the show notes so you can get connected with Kelle Sparta by accessing her links here. Now, Kelle, what is on the docket, the agenda for 2024? What are you aspiring to achieve? It sounds like podcasting is your focus, but if you want to expand on it, please let us know.
Yeah, so I am actually in the process of training up people to run my beginner level programs right now. So I have a B2C market that I do my programs that are designed to take people from those first 4 stages, right? And then I have a spiritual coach certification program where I'm teaching other people how to train my programs and how to be great spiritual coaches, working with their intuition, doing the energy work, and all of the things. And so what I am working on this year is I am taking them and building them into the business structure. So they're going to start coming in and they're going to start blogging on my platform. And they're going to start offering individual classes that are more targeted to different niches. I have 6 students in that program right now. I'm looking to take on maybe 4 more. I don't want to get a ton of people in that. I really want to take care of my people. And so that's the way I'm growing my business this year is I'm sharing the wealth, basically. I'm bringing people in and I'm creating sort of camertage, depending upon your background. Camertage is really more appropriate. It's Dr. Strange, right? But I'm creating a high-end energetic school. I'm bringing in people from different aspects to participate in that who do things that I don't do. I've got an acupuncturist. I have somebody who's an astrologer. I've got somebody who does theta healing. I've got a bunch of different people. So this is where I'm taking my business as I'm taking it up to that next stage where I am going to be helping them to run their businesses, and that will become my business.
That is so exciting. So you're in this wonderful growth scale phase where you're now providing opportunities to provide services you may not have offered yourself, but you're sharing the knowledge with those who are working under you. And you're just creating this amazing team and culture that is focused around better life, better health, better wealth. You're just helping improve more lives and sharing that wealth with others, which is such an exciting opportunity and time for you. I'm so excited to see what you're going to be doing and how things turn out in 2024. Congratulations to you.
Thank
Kelle,
you.
we appreciate you coming on and sharing all these tips, the tricks, and the wisdom with us today. Love your energy and your personality. Please keep doing exactly what you're doing. Keep up the great work. Kelle, any last words you'd like to share with our audience of business owners, entrepreneurs, or marketers out there? Sometimes they like to leave with maybe one piece of advice that they wish they had learned sooner in their journey that maybe would have helped them.
Yeah. Let go of the goal. We're told make these SMART goals, right? The problem is, from a spiritual perspective, what you have to recognize is that we are living in the eternal moment of now. And in the eternal moment of now, there is no time or space. It's outside of time space. So all of time and space are an illusion. Everything exists in the present moment. And the goal is always in the future. And so a lot of my people come in with these goals because they're very good at climbing these visions that they have and whatever, and getting to their goals, whatever. And I'm not saying I don't have a goal for my business. I do have a goal for my business, but I'm not in the goal on a daily basis. I am in the moment of stepping into the identity of the person who will run my business when it's at its goal. That is more important than focusing on the goal, because that's not in the present moment. The only thing you can impact is the present moment. And so I have been actively stepping into a new identity for myself as the person who will be running this multi-million-dollar business. That is how I achieve my goals, rather than saying, oh, well, I have these KPIs and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and whatever. And I'm like, okay, but I'm going to be the person who runs this business. And in being that person, that will be drawn into existence by its nature, because I am that person. And now I'm going to manifest that around me.
I love that because it takes that stress off and allows you to live in the moment and just appreciate where you are and becoming the person you are going to eventually be as you're running this multi-million-dollar company, or however that becomes structured in your revenue. At the end of the day, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So make sure that you enjoy the journey while you're trying to get to your destination here, and just be kind to others. Live your life, enjoy the moment, and suddenly those opportunities will present themselves and you'll be able to take action and strike while the iron is hot and finally achieve your goals, achieve your dreams.
Yeah. If you are already stepping into the identity that of the person that you're going to be when you're at your goal, then you will draw that to you so much faster.
I love that. Kelle, we appreciate your time and sharing your wisdom with us today. Congratulations on everything you've done. And I'm so excited to see what you're going to do in 2024 here with this new phase in your life. It's not a phase, it's who you are. It's so exciting, Kelle. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Chris.